years I waited. Quand je suis sortie, la résistance m'a accusée d'être une collabo. C'est eux qui m'ont sorti de là. I shot Van Bruckner and hit the gold.
Put it down. You gotta help us kill these Nazis.
No more deals.
First off, I watch a lot of movies as part of my job and everything. And I'm thinking this has to be one of the hardest roles I've ever seen committed because first of all, the character is so layered and she undergoes so much abuse, number one. And number two, you and the crew were pretty much throughout most of the movie filming out in the elements. There are no really wonderful hotel interiors that last forever. This is not a glamorous role, but must have been gratifying. How physically demanding was this for you in a big picture sense?
Physically, it was very demanding. You know, I had to lose weight really fast. Luckily, Jesse Johnson, the director, had us shoot it in chronological order. So as I deteriorated throughout the shoot, so did she, and every bruise and, scar and whatever was, real, pretty much, from shooting this. So it was physically demanding from a point of me not doing all the physical punching and kicking that I normally do, but I was on the receiving end. I'm getting tackled, pushed, shoved, that in that sense it was very demanding and constantly just beaten down and shrunk down and because she was a victim. My character was a victim of her circumstances.
What's the key to staying in that mindset? Because some of the scenes are just really, even as a viewer, tough to take. You're getting choked, you're getting yelled at. It's really, this movie is about survival, and your character, her main goal is to survive, but at any cost. But this seems like almost an every second situation for you. How do you stay in that moment, and how do you overcome all that stuff that's coming at you?
Well, research is my key. So I did a lot of research. Every night I wanted to stay right next to the set so I could stay in that world, not drive and I could just walk to set basically. And I just researched like crazy. Every letter I could get my hands on or interview or picture from that time of resistant fighters. I went to Ravensbrück, the concentration camp, so I would read about that. She was there for 3 years. So I had all these images and I wanted to, these are true stories. So I wanted to make these stories as real as I could and give them justice, for these women. So I'm a method actor, so I can't go back and forth. So I just had to live in that state, and I cried myself to sleep every night. No cell phones. I couldn't text or emails, really. I just lived in that state, and I would, normally on set you joke around, you have fun, and in this case it was not the case. I had to stay in that headspace, and I had to, so it wasn't the most fun in that sense shooting because it was a very difficult state to live in, and it takes a lot of concentration to stay there, but it was worth it, I thought. When I read the script and I was like, no, this one is worth it. I'm definitely going all the way. So yeah, so I was just there the whole time. Everything that happened on that set was real to me. I was as real as it could be. Yeah.
I apologize for that. You know what? I interviewed Jesse yesterday, and he was saying that I asked him, does he ever take breaks? Because it seems like every year he comes out with a movie, and he said he really doesn't believe in long-term relaxing. He's all about doing the work. And for you as an actor, what's it like having a partner like that who's I guess a workaholic in a good way, meaning he'll get the job done and he really believes in what he's shooting, and he's not going to go on some kind of mental vacation during production. He's very locked in. What's it like for you as a collaborator to work with that?
I mean, it's a dream come true. He's right there with you in every scene. He's in there with you. And then on top of it, all of the other cast members, he cast people who were amazing and supportive and were that right there with me too, which is very rare. There's always like a lemon or someone who's just phoning it in, but everyone was there. And I think that's the only way you can get these performances. And I mean, to me, it's a dream. We would finish shooting, we'd go back, we all stayed in this big house. And then, we would talk at night about, the day, and we would set up the morning. And it's so you just live it. You live, eat, breathe, sleep this movie, this time period, and, I'm obsessive compulsive too. So, these are my favorite kind of people to work with, because that's how I am.
Few actors in their respective lives get such a meaty role like this.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, you work so hard on this. Have you been able to actually take a step back and really appreciate what you accomplished with this film? Because this must have been, like you said, it's a dream role, and it's just on the big picture sense. It's such a memorable part and such a solid movie. Have you been able to just really appreciate it, or are you still in the moment with
No.
this?
Because, as soon as this is done, you try to book the next one and try to book the next one with like a shaved head with like patches everywhere. You know what I mean? And you were like all messed up from playing that part. It took me like a while to snap out of it, and we had to do reshoots, so I had to keep my head shaved, and I had to stay in that state a little bit and stay in the weight. So it was it's hard because I love the craft. I love being on set and shooting, but the in betweens, getting the next gig, that's the stuff that I don't love. All the business and the hustle, and that's what really drains me and stuff. So I feel like I haven't taken the time yet to, I think it's too early. And someone like me, I'm not so good at giving myself credit. I think that's definitely a character defect of mine. And that's why we grow, right? Because there's so many things that I wanted to do different, and so many things if I had more time, and you know what I mean? I'm one of those. I'm always, I always want to do more, I always feel like I could push myself just that tiny bit more. And, but I think maybe at the premiere, we have the premiere on Wednesday, maybe watching it in a theater with other people, maybe I'll just be freaked out. I don't know. I don't like to watch myself. It's a little hard,
I guess this is a general question or maybe an obvious question, but sometimes when someone's an actor or a musician, singer, songwriter, they will have maybe a laser focused on one practice. What's it like for you, who you grew up traveling to so many different places, being exposed to so many cultures, and then as an artist, you have so many different disciplines? What's that like when, you can accomplish one thing, but I'm sure you have so many other things that you want to do. What's that like multitasking when you have so many different passions in your life?
I'm a terrible multitasker. I don't like it. Like, that's why I love doing that movie, because that was the only thing I would focus on, nothing else, and that to me is my favorite. That the hustle, you can get high of the hustle, and I'm like doing a music project right now, and I'm doing this, I'm shooting a video game next week where I play a video game character. I'm prepping for the other like, it's like there's so many different things, and I don't necessarily like it. I like to hyper focus and just immerse myself in whatever project I'm doing. But I've learned that as an actor, half of it is the hustle, right? The next gig. So and I love what I do. So I love to hustle to get the parts that I want. So it's it's just part of the process, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is on set, when I can just completely commit and focus on one thing at a time.
It's a different time period. It's a real person, but the theme of survival is very universal.
Yeah.
What did you feel a kinship to this real life character while you were doing the production? You said you're really passionate about research as well. Did you feel, even though it's a different time, could you connect to what she was going through? I guess in a larger sense, as far as doing what it takes to make it to the next moment, the next, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to someone who left home at 14, of the country at 14, right? I moved to England by myself, and then Russia by myself, and then New York at 16. Then, so talk about survivor, you know what I mean? And, my parents weren't really around at that time. So I can relate to that, but more so what I related to, I know people don't like to hear this, but, I worked as an undercover animal rights activist. So I worked in factory farming, and a lot of the things that I saw when I did undercover was happening in World War II at the concentration camps. So I saw like a direct parallel. And I know it's completely different because this was pigs I heard screaming, animals that I heard screaming, and the smells of blood and slaughter and all that stuff. But I used that experience a lot because, when you go through something like that, the trauma that you remember is not, it's the smells, it's the, you know what I mean? It's all these kind of things that triggers you, and and the nightmares, that I have from it. And so it's not at the same scale as, a concentration camp in World War II, but I felt like it was enough for me to get a sense of what it was like, and the parallel, the I could see a direct parallel. So I used that a lot, and I used everything that I had in my life. I mean, that's why I related to the character when I read the script. I was like, oh my God, I feel her. Like, I can't describe it. I'm not her, but I feel her on a deep, deep, deep level. That's why I was like obsessed. I was like, I must have this character, because I just connected, and I was like, I know how she feels. I feel her so deeply. So, that's why I had to fight for the character.
Just a tangential question. Just when people, your friends of yours or people you reach out within the community, how gratifying is it when you hear them saying, well, I used to be a meat eater, but now I switched to a vegan lifestyle. And whenever I eat, I feel less bloated. I feel healthier. It just seems so, I'm one step away from becoming a vegan. I'm vegetarian. And I think maybe we start off with, well, almost there. Why, I guess this answer, I apologize that your answer could last 2 hours on this one, but why logically does a vegan meal after you eat it makes you feel healthier as opposed to having meat on a barbecue and you feel weighted, bloated, you feel very sick? It just seems like a lot. When people ask you that question, what's the main difference? And what do you tell them? Because it just seems logical that people would want to eat something that would make them feel more alive after, as opposed to,
Yeah. I mean, it's very simple. Number one, red meat takes 3 days to digest. Veggies take 24 hours. So one, it takes a long time. Two, disease starts in the colon, and meat eaters' colon gets clogged, so they get sick faster, heart disease, and it's a fact. And then number two, all the antibiotics the animals are pumped with, and they're pumped with all kinds of medicine that we take in, so that doesn't make us feel good. And then the third one is, society has trained us to, eat so much protein. Oh my God, if you don't get carbs are bad, protein. But the kidneys can't digest all that protein. So it gets stuck, the kidneys, there's so many kidney failures right now because of that protein frenzy that we're in. And it's actually not that healthy for you. It's a myth. So these are like the three basic things of why people want to eat meat is like, you know what I mean? Is that feeling where, most of the time if you eat some brown rice and veggies, you feel okay. You don't feel like that, and it doesn't stay stuck in you. So, it's just we're conditioned to think that we need the protein, and we haven't made the connection. As Paul McCartney says, if there were windows in slaughterhouses, no one would eat meat. I mean, most people wouldn't, and we just don't make the connection. So that's the same as World War II. The Nazis, they just didn't make the connection. That there were just people like us, animals love their kids. Cows have a special language; they talk to their babies. Pigs are smarter than dogs. We just haven't made the connection yet. For some reason there's a difference between dogs and pigs, and it's the same thing. We're not educated. I think that's what it all comes down to is education.
Amazing. My final question to you, Nina, is I usually ask people what are some of their favorite movies because I actually recommend movies for our listeners, but specifically for you, because you talked about the method, I just want to know, can you name one of your all-time favorite movies in terms of you go back to and you just watch it for the performances, whether it's method or another type of acting that really just even to this day inspires you? What specific performance in a movie that really to this day you can go back to and watch over and over again? As a
Sometimes,
fan, it's
yeah.
and to study. Yeah, sorry.
But sometimes I watch movies for characters, like La Femme Nikita or something, for the character. But for acting specifically, anything that Daniel Day-Lewis do, I'll study and watch many times because I can't see him in his characters. Like I don't know who he is. I can't see Daniel in there, Daniel Day-Lewis. I can't like he becomes it to such an extent that I don't even know who that person is. And I just it's so flawless. There's never one second where I'm like from The Unbearable Lightness of Being is one of my favorite movies to even Phantom Thread. Like I don't see his acting. I don't see him in there. There's actors who I love who are very much themselves and they bring themselves to the characters. And then there's characters like Kate Blanchett or actors like Kate Blanchett and Daniel Day-Lewis and people like that where it's like I can't, especially Daniel, I can't. I'm like I don't know how he is in real life. I have no clue. You know what I mean? Every character is so unique and his voice is so different and his movements and it's just his accents are phenomenal. I mean I just watch him and then that's my bar. I might never get there, but I think for me that's my bar. And then all the old ones, Marlon Brando, all of those guys.
Yeah,
I go way back.
way back, way back.
Yeah.
And before we go, Nina, after Hell Hath No Fury, what else can our listeners and viewers check you out in? What are you looking forward to as far as you talked about a video game next week, maybe
Yes.
another project? What else can we? You have your own website as well with merch. Can you tell our listeners where to go?
Yeah. Nina Bergman, my name. Instagram is where I'm most active, and then my website is ninabergman.com. And I have another movie come out called Seize the Night, where I play a goth singer from the 90s based on a true story. It's Requiem for a Dream meets Before Sunrise. And I did all the music to the movie as well, that I'm excited about. And, I'm always working. I'm always doing something. I have a comic book called Freya that's coming out beginning of next year. I have,
Wow, were you always a comic book fan, or did you just decide? Maybe you got into comics later, or
you don't know how I got into comics?
yeah, I had no idea. I used to be a comic.
Johnson cast me as his Wonder Woman when I first came.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so Jesse Johnson was doing like a short film before Wonder Woman was even thought of with Gal Gadot, and he cast me as his Wonder Woman. So I played Wonder Woman. It's like a fan movie, like a short film, and it went viral. Like he put it up, it got millions of hits like within 24 hours, and it went viral. And then we had a bunch of meetings, but they decided to go in a different direction. But that was the first time Jesse and I worked together. And I was his Wonder Woman, and I wasn't really into comic books, but because of, again, method, whether I'm doing a short film or I'm doing a full feature, I do the same amount of research. I'm the research queen. So I researched every comic book and I did so much research and then I got hooked. Then I became a comic book fan. I was like so hooked. And then I started doing Comic Cons recently and then I learned even more. So I do a lot of Comic Cons around town and do signings. So yeah, Jesse Johnson was the one. And then we worked on a couple of projects, but like very little. And then this one, Hell Hath No Fury came about, and then we got reunited.
Thank you so much for your time, and really looking forward to the comic book. Looking forward to your music and performance in Season 9, and really looking forward to what people are going to say about this movie. Have you gotten a taste of the reaction yet? Because I'm sure you're getting a lot of really good reaction so far, or is it still?
Jesse, I'm scared to read stuff, right? I don't want to know. But Jesse sent me a bunch of stuff, and so far the feedback, I'm like, wow. Wow. I've read somewhere maybe they didn't understand the movie, they didn't like the World War II or whatever, but the feedback has been tremendous, and I think, I mean, if I may say, I think all the acting in this movie is pretty spot on. You know, the actors in this movie did a fantastic job. So I do feel that you might not like the movie, but at least the acting is solid. So
Yeah.
I feel proud about that. But I'm nervous. I'm
Well,
super nervous. It's so special to me, so I don't know if it's gonna translate.
well, good luck. I really loved it. Honestly, really enjoyed it. So I'm really excited to hear. I know you don't like taking credit. You got to get your flowers at the premiere, and hope you got to get a lot more new fans. So
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.